Gwen. I'm back to do my December wrap up. If you will notice, I have changed my background. I don't have my twinkle lights on right now because I'm having to use some external lighting because it is so overcast today, even though that it's 80 degrees outside. But usually I'll have my twinkly lights, and I just hung the stars for New Year's. But after that, the stars will probably come down. But anyway, you're here for the wrap up, so let's get right into it. So this month I read 5 books. I'm working on another one. There's still a couple of days left in the month, but I doubt that I'll finish it. So let's just go ahead and talk about the books that I did finish. So the first book that I read this month was The Polar Express by I always forget his name, Van Allsburg. And this, of course, is the children's book. I picked this up a few years ago. I've read it many times to my kindergarten classroom. It does have the CD audio book in it, and that is how I actually read it this year. I was doing some things on the computer, and I decided to pop it in and listen to it, and it was excellent. I really liked it. I'm not a huge audiobook person, so I was impressed with the quality of this short audiobook. The sound effects that were added were excellent, and it really added to the atmosphere and the Christmas spirit and just the story overall. I really enjoy the movie. I really like the book, although of course the movie is much more in depth and stuff like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. It got me in the Christmas spirit. Perfect way to kick off the month of December. The next book that I read is 13 Little Blue Envelopes by Maureen Johnson. And I read this book because I picked it up in a thrift store for $1, and I wanted to be able to talk to Sylvia about it because she read it this year and loved it, and also Cece at the book Problems of a Book Nerd. She also has talked about it on her channel. I can't remember quite where I saw her talk about it, but I did see her talk about it. It stood out in my mind. I got it for $1. It had the annotated envelope inside from the previous reader, and that just had me really intrigued. There were things highlighted and so forth, so I definitely wanted to get to it soon. Plus, it's contemporary, and that's my jam. And so, yeah, I picked that up this month. I overall liked the story. I did not love the story, which was surprising since it was contemporary. It had to do with travel and mystery and, you know, romance and finding yourself and all of that. Jenny's late aunt leaves her 13 envelopes to it's like a task that she has to complete. And these tasks send her to Europe and the surrounding area, and she opens the first one, it does what it says, then she can open the second one, and so forth. These envelopes lead her around to spots that her aunt has been to, places that have meaning to her aunt, and just overall, it wasn't exactly what I was thought it was going to be. I didn't fall in love with it as much as I thought I was going to. I really did enjoy the writing of this book, and I really enjoyed the layout and the letter aspect, and as little bits I enjoyed it, but as a whole I just didn't. The story overall didn't like mean something or touch me as much as I was hoping that it was going to, but the idea is very cute. And there is another book, The Last Little Blue Envelope, and I want to read that because I want to find out like what happens. She does meet some very interesting characters along the way, but I don't think the characters were developed, which is something that I like in books, and I don't think that they were supposed to be well developed because it wasn't about them, it was about her. It does have to do with travel, which I love, and it did have a cute little romance aspect to it, although it didn't have what I was looking for in the romance department. Like, I am a diehard Hallmark Channel perfect relationship person, and it wasn't this. It didn't give me the conclusion that I really wanted, but some of the twists that happened, I wasn't really expecting them because you don't usually get a lot of twists with contemporary, so I did enjoy that it offered that. Overall, I rated it 3.5 stars, but I will be checking out the second book. And the rest of the time in December, I read the Grisha Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. This is a series that I have heard like so much about everybody in BookTube has read this, everybody in the blogging world has read this. It's just time that I got around to it. It's been sitting on my shelf for a while. I picked it up strictly because of BookTube. People that I love and trust here on BookTube have been recommending this forever. They talk about the Darkling and the fantasy aspects, and then of course Six of Crows came out, which is not not these characters, but it's set in the same world, and I wanted to jump on that bandwagon, so I knew I had to get to this sooner rather than later. So of course I started it with Shadow and Bone, which I felt was a solid starter to a trilogy. It introduced us to the characters, it began developing the world, and the premise was very interesting, even though it's something that we see all the time. It's basically about an unlikely hero that doesn't know they have powers, and then they get powers, and then they're gonna save the world, which is very familiar. We've all heard that story a million times, but I think it's done in a very unique way, and the powers in this book are very interesting, and I wish they would have been explored a little bit more, like not only like the two main ones, but like the other ones, like the fabricators and stuff like that. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of them. It was a little bit slow paced, and I wasn't like over the moon about it, so I rated it 4 stars. Then I moved on to Siege and Storm, and I was completely shocked that people were loving this trilogy this much, because this book, I generously gave it 3 stars, but it was extremely slow paced. There were some new characters introduced that I really liked, 1, and the other characters were just kind of so-so, and none of them were really developed. I kept getting them confused. There were some twists and turns along the way, which were nice, but I was kind of like, whatever. They were either very predictable, or, you know, they didn't really like shake me to my core or make me feel anything unusual or special. I really kind of struggled to get through this, and it definitely took me the longest to read. I definitely wasn't impressed with that. I gave it a very generous 3 stars. And I moved on to Rune and Rising, and this is the book that people like a lot of people I have heard did not like the ending. I loved this book. I loved the ending. It made me feel so many things. I can't even tell you. It is the 3rd book, so of course I'm just gonna go a little bit on my thoughts. It does follow the story. It does wrap things up. Throughout the trilogy, there's kind of like 3 main guys. There's the Darkling, there's a prince, and there is a childhood friend. And you're kind of wondering, like, is she gonna end up with any of them? Who's she gonna end up with? Is the powers that be gonna be taken over? Is the world gonna be saved? And of course, all of that is wrapped up. I definitely had my favorites in the trilogy, and you know, I'm diehard fans of theirs, and I mean, I just really liked this. There were definitely some shocks, definitely some twists that I wasn't expecting. I knew there were going to be twists, and I knew things were going to happen, but I didn't know exactly how. But I'm very satisfied with the conclusion. This book was worth going through the other 2 books for me. I'm not usually like that. I usually say, oh, you know, I could have lived without it. But the ending, I guess I had to read the other 2 books to really connect to the characters the way that I did, to feel the things that I did. I really enjoyed this. The first 106 pages were slow. The plot was slow. It was kind of like a continuation of the 2nd book. I was like, really? Come on, this has got to be better. Adriana at Perpetual Pages said, don't worry, the 3rd book gets better, and you're almost halfway done, which, you know, I was at the time. But yeah, I definitely like this. Now, people really seem to like the Darkling in this trilogy, and I don't see the appeal. He is the antagonist. I do understand adding him into the fold, like the love square that's going on, but I just don't see how people like love him so much. Like, he's such a douche. Anyway, those are my thoughts about the Grisha Trilogy. I do want to film a full review talking about my full thoughts about the entire trilogy and go more in depth for you, for people that have read it, because I have things that I want to talk about. So those are my non-spoilery thoughts. So if you have read it, look out for that discussion video, because I have a few questions I want to pose to the BookTube community as well that kind of just have to relate to books and reading in general. So again, stay tuned for that. But those are the books that I read in December. It was a rather short reading month for me. I had a lot going on. Now I want to talk about my goals. So in 2015, I set myself quite a few goals. I wanted to read at least 3 books a month, and I did that. I wanted to be more active in the BookTube community. I think I did that. I've done a really good job about commenting on people's videos and interacting on Twitter and through readathons. I've been getting more involved in the book community through blogging, and I've really worked hard on my blog, especially in the last couple of months this year, and I hope to continue that into 2016. I wanted to read some series. I obviously did that. And overall, the only one that I really didn't complete was the audiobooks. I wanted to read the audiobooks that I had, and instead of listening to them, I got rid of them, which was just as freeing and very telling about myself and knowing where I stand as a reader. I don't really like ebooks and I don't like audiobooks, so why succumb to the pressures of trying it? I let those go through a book exchange store where you get store credit, and I'm so happy that I am done with them. They're out of here. I did read one ebook this year and I did listen to one audiobook this year, but those, again, 1 and 1. So very rare. For the new year, I'm going to keep my Goodreads reading goal at 52 books. I have done that the last 2 years. The first year I was unsuccessful. This year I was successful. I more than doubled my goal. But I want to keep it at 52 books because, and to let you guys know a little bit more about me, I kind of made a huge life-changing decision at the end of this year. Since about the middle of October, I was really struggling with my decision to stay in the American Sign Language interpreting program at my school. And since that time, and finishing out the semester with all A's, thank you, I have decided to drop out of the program and I'm no longer going to be going to school. So I'm going to be going back to teaching full-time starting in January, so just a few days. It was a very hard decision to make, and I know a lot of people are not going to understand, especially because I'm only 3 classes away from graduating. I'd probably only have 2 semesters left, but it was becoming a very unhealthy thing in my life, and it was causing me a lot of mental breakdowns and depression, and it really stressed me out, like as far as my anxiety, and made me like miss out on other opportunities, hanging out with my friends and family, starting a family, moving to a house, you know, all of these things, having money, just basically everything. So overall, it was an unhealthy situation for me to, you know, put myself anymore. I don't think I was getting a lot out of the program, unfortunately. I think I need to expand my vocabulary, and if I expand my vocabulary and ASL, then I think that I would become a really good interpreter. But the program is no longer focusing on vocabulary, it's focusing on interpreting, and to be honest, I think I got how to interpret. I just need more vocabulary, and that only comes with spending time in the deaf and hard of hearing community, watching videos, things like that. And if I really want to continue to pursue it, I think I can do it on my own or in a different way. So that's a huge thing that was kind of bogging me down this semester in school and in life in general. I came off such a high from the summer of getting married and just having that time off, and then I went into this and I just felt my life was basically falling apart, and I don't feel that I deserve that. You know, we never know how much time we have here on earth, and I feel like we should be doing things that we enjoy and we get joy out of. So I have made that huge decision, and so for that reason, some of my reading goals and stuff in life in general has changed. So I'm sticking with the 52 books. I think it's still manageable even with the change, but if I don't meet it, like whatever. Also along those same lines, I have come to the realization that DNFing books is 100% okay. I have so many books on my TBR shelf. I do have a tiny bookshelf dedicated strictly to my TBR books, and I do want to, you know, decrease the books that are on that shelf, but it's completely okay to DNF. I feel that there's so many books out there that I want to read. There's so many books on my shelf. There's so many books that I haven't gotten and that are coming out that I do want to read and that will bring me joy. This is a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. I don't want to push through books that I don't want to read anymore. So I'm going to stop doing it. Maybe that means refusing to read books that I have already received for review. And maybe it means not accepting other reviews that are offered to me in the new and coming years. So I also want to remain active in the BookTube community. I want to get more interaction on my channel. I want to give more interaction on other channels. And I hope that, overall, I'm going to support you in your goals, and I hope you can support me in my goals. I've made some really great friends this year, and I hope to deepen our connection and our friendships. And yeah, those are really the only hard and fast goals that I have for myself, is basically take it easy, do what you want to do, live life to your fullest, be happy, do only things that bring you joy. I do have 2 blogging goals. I want to continue working on my blog and building my relationships with other bloggers, but I want to do the 365 comments, which I visit 365 different blogs and I comment on their blogs, not just on the memes and stuff like that. So if you have a blog that you want me to check out, leave it in the comment section down below. And also I'm doing a contemporary reading challenge. This year I'm going to try to read as many contemporaries as I can because I love contemporaries, and I'm reading what I love this year. So those are my goals, looking in the past and looking to the future. And what I read in December, I do plan to do a full talk on the Grisha Trilogy, so watch out for that. Also coming at the very beginning of the year, I plan to do my best and worst of 2015. Last year I didn't do that because I only read like 42 books, so I didn't have a lot to choose from. But this year I think I have 10 worst and 10 best for you, so look out for that. And I hope everybody had an amazing Christmas, a happy holiday, and you have a happy new year, and I'll see you in 2016.